Oh my god, can you believe it? Starship full stack is coming. When to expect the launch? Flight 5 Starship rolls back, the end of the suborbital test site, what is next? And SpaceX wants to launch 44 Starships from LC-39A. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. Starship updates. Last week was definitely something different. This episode may feel like we haven't done an update in a month, yet all of this happened in a span of a few days. It was hard, really hard to get all this into one episode, but we pushed through for you. Wanna know more? Let's do this, follow me. We're back at Starbase, where it is clear that SpaceX is cranking up the pace to an entirely new, never seen before level. It's almost surreal to think that just 3 years ago we were all waiting months just to witness a simple static fire. Now those tests are turning from static fire to rapid fire. I am hopeful that soon we'll be saying the same thing about launches themselves, and given the speed of recent work, that day might not be too far off. You could even say that SpaceX recently launched a new phase of the Starship program, which began with the rollout of Ship 30. At the beginning of May, this prototype was moved to Pad B. Typically, next we'd expect a spin prime, followed by 2 static fires, but this time things played out differently. The test campaign of this prototype was restarted on the 7th, but what we saw wasn't a static fire nor a spin prime. It is still hard to tell what exactly happened. Maybe it was a new type of cryogenic test, or perhaps an aborted engine test. Regardless, just a day later, the Sheriff closed off a portion of Highway 4 again, and the tank farm came back to life. Following a quick tanking, all 6 engines of Ship 30 roared to life for a few seconds. Yes! SpaceX later confirmed that this test was a success. It seems that spin primes might now be a thing of the past, as they've gone straight to Raptor firing just like they did with the booster. So you might think the next step would be a single engine demo, right? Well, not this time. Either it wasn't necessary, or SpaceX is waiting for the outcome of Flight 4 because just 2 days after the test, the prototype was lifted and placed on a transport stand. It then moved back to the production site and entered the high bay for further work, which likely includes stripping down its tiles. Okay, Felix, but that just sounds like a sped up ship test campaign. Where is all of this crazy progress you were talking about? Yeah, you're right. Oh, wait, did I mention that before Ship 30 left the launch site, the suborbital Pad B was partially demolished? Yes, believe it or not, we've just witnessed the last static fire of Starship's upper stage at the gateway to Mars. Crazy, right? Back in the day, Starbase had just a single test stand. This pad witnessed the early days of Starship testing, which more often than not ended in spectacular destruction of either the vehicle or the infrastructure itself. The worst of them, however, was the static fire of SN4. Although the test initially seemed successful, issues with the first iterations of the quick disconnect system led to a leak and a massive explosion that completely obliterated the pad. This incident led to the construction of a replacement and the addition of a second stand, resulting in pads A and B. These pads, while now exclusively known for static fires, originally served multiple purposes. In those early days, every Starship test involved setting up thrust simulators on the pads to conduct stress tests on the vehicles. It was a labor-intensive process, which is why SpaceX eventually shifted these tests to Massey's, where they have a dedicated pad equipped with thrust simulators. But let's not forget, pads A and B weren't just for static fires and cryogenic proofs. Did you know that they were actually launch pads too? Between them, they supported 10 launches, from SN5 to the legendary flight of SN15, which demonstrated that water towers can't just fly, they can land too. Suborbital pads A and B have played an important role in Starbase's history, but as we look to the future, it's time to move on. While everyone was expecting the decommissioning of the suborbital test site, it looks like they really wanted this thing to go. Obviously, such a significant move wouldn't occur without a solid backup plan in place. For those of you who follow What About It regularly, you're probably already familiar with the alternative, the static fire test stand at Massey's. Recently, we saw a huge plot twist there when Ship 26 was brought back to life and transferred to Massey's. While it hasn't undergone any visible testing yet with Pad B decommissioned, I wouldn't be shocked if SpaceX decided to conduct a static fire with this prototype. Regardless of what happens with Ship 26, it is clear that Ship 31 will be the first flight prototype to undergo a static fire at this location. The one major downside of moving to Massey's is the lack of Highway 4 closures, making it more challenging to predict when such tests might occur. What do you think? Which prototype will be tested first at the new stand? Ship 26 or Ship 31? Share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, back at the launch site, with the suborbital site being phased out, SpaceX is ramping up the construction of the new Orbital Launch Integration Tower, or OLIT. Here teams are busy drilling piles and distributing the soil that was delivered over recent weeks. Initially it seemed that the soil would be used to consolidate the ground. However, with only being there for such a short period, this might not be the case. This could be a positive sign, indicating that the first elements of the second orbital launch site might be erected not in months, but possibly in days or weeks. Speaking of, this week is shaping up to be one of the most exciting weeks at Starbase to date. Cameron County has announced road closures for May 13th, 15th, 17th, 19th, and 20th. That's a lot of closures, but why would they need so many? We don't have to guess, as the answer is right here in the document itself. These transportation closures will be used to transport the tower segments that currently reside at the port of Brownsville. With 5 closures, we can expect all 5 segments to be transported within the span of a week. It is happening! Naturally, they probably won't head straight to the launch site since there isn't much use for them there at the moment. Instead, they will likely join the 2 segments currently being assembled at the Sanchez site. Once the move is complete, 7 out of 9 segments will already be waiting at Starbase, mostly pre-assembled. What about the remaining 2? Well, they are still at Roberts Road here in Florida. From what we know, work is ongoing on both these sections and the new, shorter chopsticks. Once completed, they'll be transported via barge to the port of Brownsville. From there, they might go to the Sanchez site or directly to the launch site. One of these segments is really crucial, as it's where the ship quick disconnect arm will be attached. This is why I anticipate that this transport might happen sooner rather than later. I am really excited to see these sections start rolling out. It is going to be awesome. Back when Ship 30 was witnessing the last moments of Pad B over at the production site, SpaceX's engineers were working on the prototypes for Flight 4, Ship 29 and Booster 11. After replacing what seemed like hundreds of its heat tiles, the upper stage finally exited the high bay and took a lengthy ride to, Mega Bay 2? Yes, it was moved there to free up space for the return of Ship 30. Initially, it appeared that the tile saga would continue, with workers replacing even more of them, but then there was an unexpected twist. On the night of May 12th, the prototype left the second megabay and made its way down Highway 4, arriving at the launch site shortly after. That launch is getting closer. Now, before I tell you about the booster, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. As the owner of What About It, I know the importance of having a website to grow your business. Our sponsor, Odoo, makes website creation fast, free, and easy to do. Odoo is an all-in-one management software designed to simplify daily operations for entrepreneurs like me. With professional applications ranging from website creation to accounting, Odoo streamlines your business process. But what sets Odoo apart is its free website builder. It comes with lifetime access to the first application, offering unlimited hosting and support, plus a complimentary personalized domain name for the first year. Let me demonstrate how simple it is to create with Odoo's website builder application. I've made a site for What About It, featuring launch dates, news articles, and other essential information you guys crave. Creating it was a breeze, with user-friendly website configuration guiding me through 4 simple steps: defining goals, choosing colors, adding pages, and selecting a theme, resulting in an automatically generated website. And the best part, customization. With Odoo's intuitive site builder, I can tailor every aspect of my site. Just drag and drop, add content, and tweak the design until it is perfect. Visit odoo.com/r/rfp9 to make your website today. Odoo. Okay, back to Super Heavy. Things finally started moving there too, quite literally. On the eventful night of May 10th, the prototype was loaded onto a booster transport stand and made its way down Highway 4. After entering the launch site, it went straight between Mechazilla's arms, and within a few hours it was hoisted onto the OLM. Booster! The mount itself looks nearly ready for another launch, as recently its legs and the booster quick disconnect were repainted. This can only mean one thing: we are getting close to the wet dress rehearsal, aka WDR. A WDR is a test where a fully stacked Starship is fully fueled with propellant and the countdown mimics that of an actual launch. The key difference, however, is that there is no ignition and the test concludes just seconds before the simulated liftoff. It's the second most critical test for a rocket, followed by the test flight itself. Another even stronger piece of evidence that this test is close is once again recent closure announcements by Cameron County. Highway 4 will be closed on May 14th, with backup opportunities scheduled for the 15th and 16th. Man, that beach is like closed forever. There is also a closure scheduled for the 12th, but it is unclear if this one is related to the WDR. Additionally, a notice to mariners, or not MAR, was issued for the 16th. The designated area is too small for a full launch, but it aligns with previous notices for full stack testing. The last time SpaceX conducted a wet dress rehearsal, it took them 11 days to proceed to the launch. If this pattern holds, we could be looking at a launch window from May 24th to May 26th. Obviously, all of this depends on the approval of the necessary paperwork. In the past, things like the flight license have shown up just days before the mission. Surprisingly, as we were finishing this script, Elon Musk posted on X that he expects the launch to occur in 3 to 5 weeks. Well, that would put it clearly into June. Perhaps the bureaucracy is a bit more complicated this time. We'll keep reporting for you. Okay, that was intense. Surely they haven't rolled out any other vehicles, right? Well, after Ship 29 left the high bay, but before Ship 30 had the chance to enter, SpaceX's engineers snuck in a ship stand with thrust simulators. Then Ship 31 was moved to this stand and left the high bay, making its way to Massey's. There are more Starships on the road than cars. There it was, parked at the ship testing station, where it will now likely undergo a typical test campaign. It usually consists of 2 cryogenic tests with the use of both tanks. Then it will return to the production site, where it will enter the second mega bay for engine installation. Now, as you've probably noticed, we've used a ton of aerial shots in this video, all possible thanks to Redline helicopter tours. Did you know you can take your own helicopter ride over Starbase and get the same views as in our videos? Visit redlineheli.com/Felix to book your helicopter ride over Starbase with $25 off. Give it a try, you'll love it. And before I tell you about Starship at LC39A here around the corner, we've looked into our channel metrics and there are over 2 million returning monthly viewers who have not subscribed yet. Help us improve the channel even further by double checking that you have hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our updates. And while you're at it, give us a like and become a wise supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries including satellite, aerial and ground photos of SpaceX's progress and countless other extras on top. And no matter how much you decide to give, everyone gets the same supporter content and access. You decide what you want to give. And just as a reminder, on April 19th, we launched Y Live. We have cameras at Starbase and Port Canaveral. You may have seen snippets from these cameras before, but now you can watch them 24/7, and not just that, we live stream heli flights and show pictures, launches, tests and interviews. It is packed. Thanks for watching. Okay, back to Starship news. By now, you're probably aware that Starbase isn't the only place SpaceX plans to launch Starships from. Originally, the primary launch pad was supposed to be Florida's LC39A, but there were a few hiccups along the way. Initially, SpaceX operated 2 Starship development teams, one in Boca Chica, Texas, later named Starbase, and another in Cocoa, Florida, right next to my door. These teams were in a sort of internal competition to see who could develop the prototypes faster and better. It quickly became evident that the team at Starbase was making massive progress while Cocoa wasn't able to catch up. Another complicating factor was that LC39A was the only pad in the USA actively supporting crewed launches at the time. The potential for significant damage from a Starship launch, similar to what we witnessed during the first liftoff at Starbase, could temporarily cut off NASA's access to the ISS. The fallout from such an event would have been quite severe. To mitigate this risk, SpaceX decided to construct a second crew tower, this time at Slick 40, which supported its first Dragon launch this year. Yes! Despite these challenges, SpaceX managed to secure some of the necessary permits for Starship at LC-39A and even went as far as building the second OLIT. One key piece of documentation was the environmental assessment. This document detailed all the proposed changes at LC-39A and evaluated their potential environmental impacts. Duh. The conclusion of this assessment was a finding of no significant impact, or FONSI, which effectively greenlit the construction of the necessary infrastructure. That was back in 2019, and as you know, Starship has undergone quite a transformation since then. As the development progressed, SpaceX now aims to secure a vehicle operator license for LC-39A. However, to obtain this license, the FAA needs to prepare an Environmental Impact Statement, or EIS. Okay, but what's the difference between an EA and an EIS? An EIS essentially goes beyond a typical environmental assessment by exploring the deeper impacts of planned projects. Initially, the EA for LC-39A included plans for a launch tower, a liquid methane farm, ground support equipment systems, a water deluge system, and a landing pad. Back then, the Super Heavy booster was designed with only 31 engines, while the upper stage was supposed to have 7 Raptors. SpaceX's goal was to achieve 24 launches annually with complete recovery of both stages. The ship was planned to touch down at LZ-1, also the landing site for Falcon 9, along with a landing pad at LC-39A and, interestingly enough, on a drone ship. On the other hand, the Super Heavy booster was only meant to land on a downrange barge. There were no plans for a tower landing. Yup, in an alternative reality, Super Heavy would be making its landings on drone ships. Perhaps it would even have a catchy name like "Of course I will catch you" or "Catch me if you can." But that's not happening. Instead, this is the plan. The updated vision for LC-39A is significantly more ambitious. Starting with the vehicle, SpaceX is looking at launching not only the current design of Starship, but also a future configuration where the upper stage has 9 engines. Oh, I love that. The Super Heavy, on the other hand, may grow from 33 to 35 Raptors. Oh, I love that too. Yes, they somehow want to fit 2 more engines in the aft section of the booster. They also plan to nearly double the planned launch frequency, aiming for 44 launches per year, up from 24. As for what to do with the vehicles after launch, SpaceX proposes 3 options. The ship will no longer return to landing zone 1. Instead, it could either return to LC-39A, be expended over the ocean, or land on a drone ship. A similar set of options is proposed for the booster, but with one difference: a Super Heavy catch tower at LC-39A. Are you kidding me? So we might see a catch-only tower after all. The document doesn't specify the exact location of such a tower, only confirming its placement at LC-39A. Maybe this is the second tower Elon Musk was referring to in his latest Starship update. However, just because these structures are mentioned, it doesn't mean SpaceX is obligated to build them. If the catch maneuver at Starbase proves successful, a dedicated catch tower might become unnecessary. What intrigued me the most, however, is that the document still mentions the drone ship for both ship and booster. This might relate to SpaceX's long-standing plans for remote launch sites, offshore sea launch platforms. Quite some time ago, they purchased 2 decommissioned oil rigs and named them Phobos and Deimos. They were supposed to be the first 2 sea launch platforms, which would help mitigate issues like sonic booms during re-entry, while also minimizing environmental impact. And also noise! Although initial work on these platforms began, the project was halted and the rigs were sold. The reason? Musk ordered the entire Starship team to only focus on tasks that would get a first Starship to orbit and deploy payload. Maybe we'll see their comeback, but specifically as Starship catch platforms. The proposal also outlines new infrastructure for the launch site, including increased propellant storage and facilities like a methane liquefier and an air separation unit. These installations are intended to produce and store propellant on site, as relying on truck deliveries would be quite a bottleneck for the 44 launches a year plan. Unfortunately, the proposal lacks a timeline for the EIS process. Typically, such evaluations range from a few months to over a year, depending on the specifics of the project. Nonetheless, the construction of new infrastructure such as the launch table and deluge system is not expected to be completed until the second quarter of 2025. So what I mean is that bureaucracy likely won't be an issue this time, as SpaceX won't be ready to launch Starship from LC-39A for at least another year. That's it for today. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and it helps us immensely. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A link is in the description. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. The ship quiz disconnect. It's happening! Woo! All the It is happening!